Welcome to I'm Your Target Demographic. Today we are going to cover 5 must-see animated movies. Now, I've done this before with other genres, so I did like sci-fi, fantasy, based on a true story, some other genres, and today we're talking about animated movies. Now, I'm going to be covering more modern animated movies that people might have missed out on. So I'm not going to cover some of the classics like Aladdin, Lion King, kind of those older, really important animated movies. I'm covering ones that might have slipped through the cracks. Now the animated movies are much more common. So I'm going to cover 5 that I think you need to see. I'm going to start with a movie that's already on another one of these lists, and that is How to Train Your Dragon. It is a story about a young boy who lives with a bunch of Vikings, and they kill dragons, and they fight, and it's this war, and he doesn't want to. And so he ends up actually taming and befriending one of the wildest dragons kind of in the land. And he has to keep it a secret from everyone he knows. And it is a gorgeous movie. It is fun. It's exciting. It's got it all. I cry almost every time. The end, the climax is just incredible and deeper than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be kind of a little kid movie. That's why I never really saw it. I was like, that doesn't look like my thing. But it's actually really adult, and there's some kind of very touching moments in it. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's probably my top 5. And so if you're going to see animated movies, How to Train Your Dragon is a really important one for you to catch. My second movie is also another DreamWorks movie, and that is Kung Fu Panda. Now, Kung Fu Panda I missed when it was in theaters, but I rented it on Blu-ray. And this movie is just vibrant. That the colors just leap off of the screen, and this is one of the movies that I show people when they say, I don't really get the difference between a normal movie and a Blu-ray movie. Like, I don't think Blu-rays are really worth it. I say, let's sit down and let's watch Kung Fu Panda. And it just leaps off of the screen, and they are forever changed. So Kung Fu Panda, if you don't know it, the basic gist is a panda growing up in kind of ancient China. He's obsessed with martial arts and kind of idolizes these Kung Fu warriors. And somehow, there's a prophecy that ends up foretelling that this panda will be the one to stop an ancient threat that's about to kind of hit China. So he has to train and kind of become this martial arts warrior that no one really believes he can be. This movie also has a lot of heart. This and How to Train Your Dragon are the 2 movies that I think really showcase DreamWorks' ability to put out solid films. And a lot of it is due to Jack Black, as the main character, really put some heart into it. As opposed to kind of the slapstick humor that Jack Black is usually known for, here he really delivers an incredible performance. So the performances mixed with the color and just vibrant visuals, and then some amazing action scenes. There are some fight scenes here that are just incredible. So if you're going to see kind of an action movie and you want bright, vivid colors, Kung Fu Panda is an obvious choice. Now we're going to shift gears from DreamWorks to the other big powerhouse in animation, Pixar. I'm going to pick 2 Pixar movies that I think are really cornerstones for this genre and as it is today. And the first one I'm going to go with probably one of the most underrated Pixar movies, and that's Ratatouille. Ratatouille is the story of a mouse that wants to be a chef, and so he kind of, they're in France, he kind of sneaks into a restaurant and becomes friends with this young boy that's working there. And kind of through this boy kind of learns to cook, and he prepares these meals, and everyone thinks it's this kid, but really it's this mouse that's speaking to him. And it's just fascinating. And it's a great story. It got me interested in culinary stuff, and so after this I was like, let's watch Top Chef. And it's a fascinating story. It's a great visual piece. There's a lot of cool visuals. And the voice work by Patton Oswalt, who is one of my favorite comedians, is just really incredible. So Ratatouille, I feel like, doesn't get a lot of love. Everyone talks about Pixar and they talk about Toy Story and they talk about Up, but they never really talk about Ratatouille, and I don't really get why. So this one might have missed you. You might not have seen it. So this is your chance to go back and check out kind of the hidden gem that is Ratatouille. For my second Pixar movie that I'm going to pick, I am going to surprise some of you, and I'm going to go with Monsters, Inc. I think Monsters, Inc. is my favorite Pixar movie, probably out of all of them. Over Toy Story, over Up, over Finding Nemo, I love Monsters, Inc. And a lot of it is, its concept is just really interesting, right? So it's a world where monsters live, and at night they go into these doorways that take them to little kids' bedrooms, and they scare them, right? So it's the boogeyman under the bed or some monster in the closet. And their town, where the monsters live, is powered by the screams of children. So it's this really interesting idea that if the boogeyman, where does the boogeyman live? What is the boogeyman? And we get to see them and meet them, and it's this hilarious story. But it becomes something more when a young girl, kind of like a toddler, like a little baby, sneaks into the world of the monsters, and kind of what happens to their society, how they react to this kid, and what it kind of forever changes. So Monsters, Inc. is an incredible story. It looks great, it's hilarious, but ultimately, it just got me in the feels. Like, it just punches you in the gut at the end, and it's just a feeling you won't soon forget. So for me, I think Monsters, Inc. is my favorite Pixar movie out of all of them, and if you haven't seen it, you definitely need to go back and check it out. For my fifth choice on this list, I'm going to go with a movie that is neither Pixar nor DreamWorks, but is actually a Disney animated movie, just straight up Disney, not Pixar. But it is computer generated, so some people think that it falls into one of those two studios, and it's not, and that is Wreck-It Ralph. Wreck-It Ralph is a love letter to old school video games. And growing up with Nintendo and kind of arcade games on Atari and all these things, this movie just encapsulated my youth. It is about an arcade game, and the villain, who's Wreck-It Ralph, doesn't want to be a villain anymore. And so he leaves his arcade game and travels across all these other arcade games to become a hero somewhere. And it's a very touching story. You'll notice there's a trend, right? I'm a sucker for the movies that just hit you right in the feels. But this movie, it's an incredible, touching, emotional story, but yet it's vivid and bright and colorful. There's some really cool action, and it just manages to make all these references in a way that is truly touching, as opposed to things like Pixels that is just like kind of misuse of the properties, where here it's very lovingly done. And Wreck-It Ralph is really, out of all these movies, is the one that you might need to be a little more into that subject material, that because I love video games, it meant a little more to me, where if you maybe don't care about video games or don't know the references, it may not get you as much. But I think it's a solid film, and I really enjoy it, and I'm surprised how many people missed it, so this is your chance. So, those are the 5 that I'm going with. Those are the 5 animated movies, in the past 10 or so years that I think you need to check out. What do you think? What are those movies that most people might have missed that they need to catch? What are the definitive animated movies of our time? You can go classic, you can go back to Disney, you can say Aladdin, Lion King, Hercules, whatever your favorite is, or you can go new, right? Is it some computer animated movie, some CGI movie that just people didn't see? Everyone needs to see The Iron Giant. What are those movies that people need to watch? So make sure you comment below, like all the comments that are, movies that you love, and make sure you check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/IAYTD, and thanks for watching.